So, since trend appears on all time frame, what is the best time frame to take a trade? Is it the daily time frame? It depends on you. But the most important thing is the higher the time frame, the better your analysis, and the higher the risk, the higher the reward. Now, what are the tools we use in identifying this trend? So let's take a look. Trend lines is probably one of the most basic tools in the technical trader's toolbox. Now, trend line is a line that is what connecting two lows or two highs with the line projected into the future. Now, the trend line, as the name implies, is just a line that it is used to what identify trend. There are two basic types of trend: the ascending and the descending trend lines. So, the ascending trend line is run in an uptrend while the descending trend line is run in a downtrend. Now, how do you draw these trend lines? You can easily do that by going towards your chosen time frame. I will recommend at least a 4-hour chart if you want to draw your lines. Then you can change to line chart so that you can see the peaks and the troughs easily. So once you have successfully placed your trend lines, you can then go to lower time frames to what pick your entry. Now this is a trend line, but what an ascending trend line. There was a low at this point and there was another low at this point. Now once you pick a line connecting those two lows, you have what an ascending trend line, which is drawn by connecting higher lows. There is a low point here, there's another low point here, but this low is higher to this low. That's why we say the ascending trend line is drawn by connecting higher lows. Now, the descending trend line is the exact opposite of what an ascending trend line. The descending trend line is drawn by what connecting higher connecting lower highs. There is a high here, there is another high, and there's another high around this point. Now once you connect these highs, you have what a descending trend line. Okay, now this is a wrong way of drawing a trend line because this point, this low has been dissected or neglected. So for this reason, this trend line is wrong. It should have drawn, or it should have been drawn this way and projected into the future. You can decide to pick another trend line from this point and connect this point, or from here to connect this point. So this is how you draw your what trend line. Now take note, it takes at least two highs or two bottoms to draw a trend line, but it takes a third point to confirm the trend line. The steeper the trend line, the less reliable it will be, and it may fail. So we don't want a steep trend line that will fail. A trend line fails once price has passed through it or is broken. So trend lines become stronger the more times they are tested. There is always a retest when trend lines are broken. So it's better you wait for it. Now, how do you use your trend lines to generate entry and what exit signals? Now, how do you use trend lines to determine your exits and entries? So, the point at which the trend line or the current market price is touching a trend line is a signal to take a trade. Now, in a descending trend line, once the price touches the line, that is a signal to take what? A sell. That's why we said once the trend line is drawn, it is always projected into the future. You project the line into the future so that later in the nearest future, once price goes to hit it or touch the trend line, an entry for sell is generated. Now your stop loss will just be what? Few pips away from the nearest high, since you are taking a sell. Now the converse is correct for what? An ascending trend line. You'll be looking for buy opportunity whenever the line comes back and what? Touches the trend line. Now your stop loss will be what? Few pips away from the nearest low. Now looking at this trend line, a break is what? In progress or has just happened. But this is not a sign that the trend line has been invalidated until there is a retest. You wait for a retest and see if the next or subsequent candle will close below the trend line. That confirms a break. Now once there is a break of the trend line, it means the trend line has been invalidated and you will be looking at taking trade in the opposite direction. So now we will need to put all what we've done together by going to the MetaTrader 4 platform to practice what we have learned. Remember, we said trend is what? The general direction of the market. It could be an uptrend or a downtrend or what? A range. And we said we will be looking at buying in an uptrend and selling in a downtrend. Now to identify the trend, you need to do what? Use some tools like the trend line to know the trend of the market. And we said trend occurs on all time frames, but we recommend that you use at least 4-hour chart for your analysis. Then you can go to lower time frames to pick your entries. Now let's go to the MetaTrader 4 platform and see how to put all these together.